So if you're curious to know one of the most effective and pleasurable ways to radiate power, then you should keep watching because this video is for you. Hi, I'm Brittany Rochelle. I'm an anger alchemist teaching you to alchemize rage to live a magnificently melanated life. And really at the core of this anger alchemy is all about power, claiming our own power. And in this video, I'm going to tell you how you can radiate this level and this depth of power from your very beings through using your sexuality. There's this incredible Alice Walker quote that says, the most common way people give up their power is by thinking that they don't have any. And it's so often as Black women, I see this in my own life and that of my clients, is that we learn about and relate to our sexuality in some of the most disempowering ways. For so many of us, learning about our sexuality was not the most empowering thing. It's either in puberty or even through traumatic or abusive experiences, and really understanding that our sexuality, specifically the sexuality of melanated, female identified or identifying people, is really one of the most powerful sources in the world because it's often one of the most exploited, misunderstood, and demonized sources in the world. And so in this video, I'm going to share with you two really powerful ways that we can reclaim our sexuality. And I'm going to be looking specifically at Black women's sexuality in order to do this. So as a precursor, if you haven't checked out my video all about sexual energy, then I invite you to check that one out because it lays a really good foundation for what we're going to cover today. But essentially, a lot of this video was deeply influenced by this incredible Red Table Talk, which I will link below. And it talks about the invisibility of Black women. And I see this through so much of our sexual expression as well. And I think so often we're categorized into these two extremes, neither of which actually represent our true power and our own sexual expression and sexuality. And they're often tools of oppression that make us often disconnect from our own sexuality, see it as something dirty or wrong or disgusting or shameful or something that's just completely non-existent. And it really keeps us from really taking advantage of one of the most root base sources of life force energy and power and vitality in our lives. So the first real stereotype or part of that poll is the mammy. And so this is the stereotype of Black women being completely desexualized, as if our only purpose in life is to be a servant and traditionally to take care of white people's children. And it really completely cuts us off from any sort of sexual expression or sexual desire at all. And the second is the Jezebel. And this is the other side of the pole, the super extreme, hypersexualized, hyper eroticized depiction of Black women's sexuality. And it's really a way to dehumanize Black women, and often in the lineage has been a way to justify the slavery and the sexual abuse that Black women have experienced time and time again. And it's important to note that Black women's bodies were the site of slavery and really what catapulted America or the United States into becoming the capitalistic superpower that it is today through the exploitation of Black and brown bodies, and specifically the bodies of Black women. And so knowing that these lineages still deeply exist, either being completely unsexualized and being stripped of any sexual expression, or being hypersexualized, overly sexualized, often for the benefit of white men and often to justify sexual violence. And so how can we as Black women really claim our own power and our sexual energy as a way to radiate and empower our lives and our thriving? So I want to share with you a simple, maybe not simple, but a very pleasurable practice where it really is this idea of using your sexuality the way that you would use meditation, the way that you would use yoga, or the way that you could use doing a breathing exercise that could help you in a specific area of your life. This practice is a pleasure practice, and it's all about reclaiming and owning our sexuality at the root in a state of sexual expression or sexual pleasure. So what is it? This is essentially giving yourself a curated, specific space for you to engage in sexual pleasure, aka masturbation, and to think about and become conscious of the ways that all these different narratives continue to perpetuate our own sexuality. So allowing yourself to actually express what you weren't allowed to in the mammy state, or experiences in your own life and with people, or sexual experiences where you are hypersexualized, where you're completely desexualized. And I find that actually going between these two different extremes helps us find a really healthy balance where we can relate to our own sexuality and our own sexual expression in a way that's authentic, in a way that's not shaped by these often hovering different stereotypes that really in the past have really guided the one of kind of two expressions of Black women's sexuality. And you can even do this beginning to self-pleasure, and once you're in a pleasurable state, asking yourself, who does this Jezebel archetype not allow me to be sexually? And then expressing that kind of sexuality that you're not allowed to be. Or who does this mammy, desexualized, often hyper-achiever, overachiever, very dutiful, self-sacrificing archetype not allow me to be sexually? And maybe that's fully claiming your own sexual desire, or your own real selfish desires in terms of what you want from your own sexual pleasure. And that can even impact the way that you show up in your entire life. And you can even take this further with who did larger white society not allow you to be? Who did your school experiences not allow you to be sexually? Or what did your church upbringing not allow you to be sexually? And giving yourself a really safe, contained way to express that as big and as boldly as you desire. It's incredible how doing these private pleasure practices completely changes the way that you show up, just walking down the street, or just going to the grocery store, or dating, or showing up in your career or in your business. I have seen this time and time again from myself and from my clients. So try this on. It might seem a little weird, but I think that it's one of the most powerful ways to really reclaim your own radiance and to shine in the world. So if this content is interesting or triggering or really resonates with you or kind of activates you and you want to learn more, I invite you to check out my free ebook called Melanin, a Reclamation, where I share more of my own personal story and also free somatic tools that you can do right now in the privacy of your own space to explore even further your own melanated body in your lived experience. And if you want to learn even more and work with your own sexual expression and your own relationship to power and the way that you show up in your life, and you're interested in coaching, I invite you to check out the link below to learn how you can sign up for a completely free, no pressure discovery call with me, where we can explore going deeper into this and other topics of how you want to reclaim your own power and radiance in your life.